Hello and welcome to this edition of Bayou Time. I'm your host, Keith Whiteside, licensed clinical social worker. Thank you so much for joining us. However you may be joining us, we appreciate it very, very much. And you know, very often in our area, especially at this time, there are a number of things that are taking place behind the scenes that we don't know. It was really important for me after I found out and was educated about the value of what is being done for our community to have some specialists come on who are truly taking care of the community. I want to welcome in Spud McDonald. Spud, welcome to the program.
Hi, thanks for having me. I appreciate it.
We appreciate it. Sitting next to him, Lawrence DeHart. Lawrence, thanks for being here.
Thank you for having us. Appreciate it.
And you guys are both with our food bank, but it's a long name for the food bank. Lawrence, tell us a little bit about how we got to that name and the importance of what you guys do.
34 years ago, 12 churches of different faiths came together after a hurricane and said, okay, we can do more together. So it's Terrebonne Churches United Food Bank. We call it TCU for short.
Right.
We are not owned, or we work with the community as a whole. We don't care about your faith or your background. What we're there to do is to serve those in need. And that's what we do. And while we have different religious organizations that support us and continue to operate with us, we are a Christian organization, and we make no apologies for that, and are there is to serve those people in this region and to, it's a hand up, not a handout. So that's what we do.
Well, interestingly enough, speaking of the history, biblically, when the disciples asked Jesus, what do you want us to do? He said, feed my people. And so I don't know that we can take anything quite directly out of the Bible other than that. That's what you do. You feed the people.
Yes.
And you help them get out of situations that they're in.
What you do to the least of my brothers, you do to me. And
right.
With me, it's turned into a mission. I became associated with them, with the food bank, some 8 years ago now, and first as a volunteer, then on the board, then as the board president. I replaced the guy who ran it for 25 years. And unfortunately, Darwin is no longer with us, but his legacy still is. And we were at this humbly, crumbly old warehouse on Magnolia Street. The building was about 60 years old when we moved in 30 years ago.
Right.
And it was 2,800 square feet. It certainly didn't meet our need, but it fit our pocketbook. And we operated out of there, and nothing ever seemed to fit, but we had amazing volunteers, because this is Terrebonne Parish's food bank, and the fact that it's volunteers, it's business leaders, it's organizations here that support us to take care of those people in this region. And it is the greatest statement of love when people ask to talk about Terrebonne Parish and the people, just come look at the food bank, because we don't operate without the volunteers from Terrebonne Parish. We don't operate from the support, and we get no local parish money as of this time. We're working on that.
Right.
We're
hoping to.
Yes. We're the only top 10, or we're one of the 10 largest food banks in the entire state, and we get no local support, so we have to count on business people and people in the community to support us. And we're very, very efficient. For every dollar that comes to us, 88% of the money goes back into the community, so we operate very cheaply. You give me $1, and I'm going to give you back 7 cans of food. So, so that's a pretty good deal.
Right, and that's the one thing that, as we talked about this, and as I got a chance to see the new operation, which we're going to talk about in a little bit, got to see how valuable that is. We talked about the importance of $1 versus a 1-can donation.
Correct.
And so some people that can buy a can for $1, you can do 7 for that same $1.
Right.
And that's important.
We have tremendous partners that we work with that are outside of this region. One of them is Convoy of Hope. They're probably our principal supplier. We work with United Way and several other national organizations, and because of what they can do for us, and we now buy, or we get food factory directly from manufacturers such as rice and from Cisco and as such, and where a rice, 1 pound rice may cost you 80 cents, I'm able to get it for 29 cents. And so while it's not quite free, it goes a long way in allowing me to serve more food to more people. And we don't give junk.
Right, I know that's right. And Spud, you were able to come on just here pretty recently.
Yeah, I've been here about 6 weeks. I'm into my 6th week, and it ain't what I thought it was, but it's actually, it's very rewarding. I have to tell you that. I mean, when you stand out there in the line and on regular distribution days, and you're looking at people who have their whole lives actually donated to food banks or organizations, and now all of a sudden, because of the storm or for whatever reason, or the COVID, or all of a sudden they're having to kind of come through and ask for help. And it feels good to make them feel good and feel okay that you can come and ask.
Right.
We're not judging you at all. It's like
No.
Lawrence said. We don't judge you. We are a Christian organization, but you don't have to be a Christian. We have a set of standards you got to meet. But if you meet those standards, partner, you're walking away with a box of food.
Right.
And we don't judge you. We just feed you.
Right, and such a huge difference. And for people that recognize your voice, and you and I both have a face for radio.
Oh yeah.
and here we are on television. For those people that have done that, and you've been able to retire in a couple of different areas, but working with the food bank as we wrap up here in this segment is, and like you said, awfully rewarding, and certainly being able to see the joy that you can bring to people.
Working on being on the radio, doing talk radio, and helping people after Katrina and the BP spill and other things. I mean, COVID killed my show.
Right.
But yeah, this is a very interesting job and a very rewarding job, and I'm glad to be here.
Lawrence, you mentioned how the building was old 30 years ago, the smaller building on Magnolia, and then something pretty remarkable happened that y'all were able to move into a larger facility.
Yes, we went and realized we actually do 18 different programs. Well, back then it was 16 different programs out of one building, and there's no way we could do what we wanted to do. When COVID hit, we suddenly went from an inside screening and processing to outside, and we went from serving some 10,700 people in 1 year to 21,000 the facility just couldn't handle. So we were very fortunate that State Rep Z Zarang and Mike Feasy came up with some state money to help us do a down payment on a new building. We bought it. It is ours,
right?
And except for the bank.
Bank's got a small part of that.
Yeah, they let you know every month.
Yeah.
Tap you on
Yes,
the shoulder.
just so you know.
Yes, but Synergy was great. Best sales job I ever did was to convince them to lend us money.
Right.
But anyway, so we went from the 2,800 square feet to over 7,000, and we actually were able to increase programs and increase what we do, and it has turned into a very different type of facilities where we're very manpower, where we would just literally have people unloading out of the back of a pickup truck banana boxes to now we have forklifts and pallets, and when we get loads of food in, it comes in a 53-footer tractor trailer that we offload, and we have a National Guard presence, and where normally we process anywhere from 115,000 to 150,000 pounds of food in a month. That all gets packaged out and sent out immediately to some. For the storm, it was even much higher, even beyond what the building was designed to do. We designed the new building 3 different ways. One to do the traditional distributions like we did. One way is design. We can pivot and let it do drive-by, what we primarily do, and then we have a third system designed for what we call grab and goes, where we don't do the traditional screening process. They just drive by. We identify who's in the car. We load them up what car while we're doing that, and they get out quickly. And that's kind of what we've been doing a lot of lately.
And it's interesting how you speak so quickly and humbly about the process in the new building. But the storm affected everybody, including you. But you came back in a time the next morning to assess the building and to determine what the need was, because you got a call that people were in need right away.
When we moved into this, one of the things we looked at is, okay, we have walk-in freezers and coolers where we used to have 14 little individual freezers. So we have an emergency generator that we didn't have. We are hardwired in as an AT&T cell tower, basically. And some of our board members were going, why are we spending money on this? And it's like, when a storm is going to hit, we're going to need this. We had cots, and the whole building was designed for emergencies. For the storm, the night of the storm, one of the many programs that most people don't realize is TCU is part of the Emergency Operations Center. We've been a part of that for about 6 or 7 years. We are part of that deals with food we provide food for the first responders, we provide food for the shelters, and then food is called mass distribution thereafter. So we've been a part of that, and we are prepared. We had helped shipped out the people because we weren't keeping a local shelter. We sent them to North Louisiana. We were part of that process, and so we had no local shelters, but we had prepared with food because we know through experience and being here every day what it's going to take thereafter, because this isn't our first hurricane, certainly not our first rodeo. And so it's 7:50 at night, and I was staying at a friend's house because they had a generator, and I actually live in Raceland and much closer to get in. And the phone call was, we have 60 people that have just showed up at the Civic Center because where they were getting shelter is gone, and the sheriff's office is picking up some 65 more that are in the same situation. So we have over 120 people at a facility that has no electricity, no food, no resources. Can you get something out there? So I'm driving over the river and through the woods, because you're driving over metal and hoping it's not cutting up the tires. You're driving over power lines and you're just sitting there praying to God, please don't let it have a charge on it. And so we got to the facility that, while God bless us and we got a little beat up on the outside, we had metal and tin and branches still blowing around because the winds were still in excess of 100. And so we're loading up pillows and blankets and food to go ahead and get out of there. And I figure, I just turned 60 years old the day before, and I figure stupid left my body. And so that night,
temporarily,
Sure.
So
Temporary
I get out there that night, and we're loading in, and a big old sheet of tin literally flew inches in front of my nose. At that, realized, I said, "You're just as stupid now as you were when you were 21."
It has not left you.
So we ended up making 2 trips out there, and they were just bringing it in. And the next morning, while I was at the EOC, we assessed the food bank, and we were literally providing not only food and resources, but automatically we had different organizations around the parish calling, this is what we do, how can you get food and help? And the effort of my staff was beyond unbelievable.
Well,
So-
you talk about the importance of the mission. You talk about the importance. There are people that talk about those things, and then there's doers. You know, when much is said and done, when after all is said and done, much is said, very little is done. That's not the case with TCU. Certainly not the case for what you guys have been doing and what you did for and immediately during and after the storm. You literally went out and fed the people, and that's remarkable.
and still do.
It's a really important and special work that y'all do, but y'all do 18 different programs, and I think it's important for people to understand how everybody should want one of these blue shirts, and the way to do that is to come in to be able to donate to the cause.
Or donate or volunteer.
Yes.
We still do, just to give you an example, in the month of September for the storm, normally we do about 150,000 pounds. We did over 750,000 pounds in, another 450,000 pounds out in 30 days. We were never geared for that. We
Wait,
stopped for
that's
being...
over 1.2 million pounds of food.
They
In
dealt
1
with,
month.
We brought in 750 and brought out 450. And believe me, it didn't take us long to get rid of the next 300,000.
Hands-on,
Yes.
moving pounds of food to feed people. I just want people to understand that. You say that rather cavalier. That's a big deal.
That's about 18 wheelers full on average that we took in. We couldn't get it out in our traditional ways. We have actually 4 other food pantries that we provide for in this parish. Most people don't realize that. But it's a situation that, so we had to get inventive. So not wanting to put our box truck out where all this down trees and power lines. So Senator Mike Veazey provided me with utility trailers and people, and we needed volunteers because everybody's trying to recover.
Right?
And so we're loading up utility trailers, and we were providing food and resources for over 18 different, we call them pods or points of distribution. Then we would have these cooking trailers show up every morning and whatever, because we had a functioning freezer and we had a couple of reefers that were there that we were storing food in. And the longer we could keep these cooking trailers provided with food, the better food they can give, because the MREs are not designed for long term and are very unhealthy for you. So we So we were providing for that. And but I could not have done that without volunteers. We've had people like Bubba Watkins, show up to one of my favorite volunteers started out, and he now works for us. He is 78 years old. His name is Matthew Clearwater. He was homeless when he came to us and decided to volunteer, and so now he actually works for us. And but I don't care if you're in the 70s and you say, "Oh, I can't do all that heavy lifting." We have everything that you can do, from bagging beans and rice to packing boxes to, for every hour you give us, that's that much money less I have to pay somebody to do it, or that much more food I can provide. We have people that want to go out and be screeners and or help us, because there's a ton of paperwork that comes in. If
Sure.
I need these national organizations to give us money, they want documentation, and so it's a lot of effort to do that documentation, and so we always need help. And this is your food bank, so we're only as good as what this region wants to do. And I know everybody's got something going on, but if you come back to the food bank, I promise it will change your life for forever. I can tell you it changed mine. Spud came by and reconnected. He walked in.
I was in home on a goof,
Okay.
That's
hard to believe, Spud.
Well, I know. My whole life's a goof. But I just wanted to see the facility.
Right.
I went over there because I knew he had moved, and I wanted to see it, and I looked him up, and he was running around, not like a chicken with his head cut off, but he was running around.
Right.
And I tell you what, by the end of my visit with him, I was offered a job, and the next day I was working there.
Wow.
And it's like I'm the director of community relations. I reach out to people. I look for food. I look for funding. I do podcasts, so now we do a podcast for the food bank,
Right.
telling everybody what we do. So you can find us on Spotify and Red Circle, or you can find us on the food bank's Facebook page. But we try to keep people up to date on what's going on and what we do, and that's my gig.
Well, my example was very similar to yours. I was very glad to work for a company with Kindred at Home that wanted to go out and provide support, and we were able to give a small donation there. And we, all three of us, Denise, Tricia, myself, our team, could not have been more impressed by not only what you do, but how it's done. It is a well-oiled machine. We said it multiple times.
Yeah.
To be able to provide that volume with the work that y'all are doing to bring the food in.
Oh, there's a lot of things with people involved.
Yeah.
Lawrence, Cheryl Skinner, who runs the warehouse, Miss Gina, and all the people who do the paperwork, Carolyn, the accountant. I mean, it is a well-oiled machine, but it all falls on his shoulders because he's the one who provides the oil.
Right. Well, and quite frankly, you're doing God's work with your team, and I say that in a very strong way. That's what I think people are called to do in special environments, and I've been able to watch that. But I got to see how important that was. We were overwhelmed, much like you, about that, and so I really want to encourage people to go and find out the address again on
922 Sunset.
922 Sunset Avenue. It's on the opposite side, so it's on the bayou side of Barrow. So I highly encourage you to go check it out. Highly encourage people to volunteer. We were able to give some money, and I'm going to continue to do that. And I'm going to go invite. We already have a team set up for us to go and do that after this holiday break. So we're really excited about that. I know y'all need more volunteers. Last 30 seconds.
We're here every day. We are here every day. We give out food every day in one of the different programs, and we're open Monday through Friday from 8 to 4, and we're open Saturday from 8 to 12. We're doing one of the most incredible weeks from last Saturday till this next Saturday. We're giving out some 1,200 turkeys in boxes. We will serve some 1,200 families in this week, and that's just why we're here.
Can't thank you both enough for what you do, and I encourage people to go and find you, look you up, and go do some volunteer and donate some money. Thank you, guys. All right, guys, that'll do it for us in this edition of Bayou Time. Don't go anywhere. A lot more local programming when we continue.